Okay. Could you hold your phone in your hand so that it's not in the camera? I love you. Please.
No, you don't. Please don't. I swear.
Okay.
Okay.
Welcome back, everyone, to Childcare Sights and Sounds. I'm Dani.
I'm Gigi.
And again, this is a podcast that has no real intro. But we do have a real guest today.
We sure do. And
Krystal
I'm excited.
Kernall. Welcome, Krystal.
Thank you.
We are so excited to have you.
Yes.
I'm glad to be here. Thank y'all for having me.
I dragged Krystal out of bed on an early Saturday morning.
Wasn't just you, Krystals. Me too.
True. To make her way all the way down to the South Shore of Long Island from Queens. And I'm so grateful that you actually did make yourself available to come. I found you on Instagram a couple weeks ago. I think you had liked one of my posts or something. And I was like, sometimes I just go through like who's liking my stuff or whatever, to see like if I want to follow them back or like, about my followers on Instagram. And I saw you and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a provider in Queens. She has a podcast. Why don't I know her?
When she mentioned home daycare, I was like, really? It was giving the path that she was on once upon a time. So,
yeah. So I wanted to have you on to come explain like who you are, what you do, how long you've been in the industry. So could we get started with just like, who is Krystal?
Yeah.
I'm boring. I really don't do anything. I don't go anywhere, but daycare is my life. So I've been working in daycare for 17 years. 6 of those years I've had my own. Off and on because I've quit a few times. Because, just stress. You guys know how it is. But 17 years in daycare. I started because my grandmother loved kids. And she just babysat. When we were younger, everybody in the neighborhood came to our house. Yeah. So that's what she was. She was the neighborhood mom.
Okay.
So I started babysitting. I started at PAL, Police Athletic League. And I did summer camp there. From there, I just started working in daycares.
Okay. Is Police Athletic League is it a summer camp in the police?
So what they have a summer youth employment program.
Oh, okay.
That they sponsor. And so I started working there when I was, I want to say like 15 or 16.
Okay.
Me and my sister, and then I just kept going from there.
Nice.
I started my daycare in 2018, and I really didn't pick up until 2019. I started to get enrollments, and then 2020, COVID happened. And I thought it would have been harder that was really like a trial for me because it's my first time owning a business.
Right.
And now I'm on the other side. I'm on the side where now I'm admin and payroll. I've never done that before. Mm-hmm. And so having my own business in COVID, I was like, should I stay open? Should I close? Should I? But it actually worked out because I ended up doing emergency care. So I closed from January to March. And then from, I want to say, April to September, I started doing care for more children. I was fully enrolled. I reached my capacity actually during COVID. So I was like proud of myself, and I just kept going. I got 3K. I ended up being sponsored by DOE.
During
COVID, they finally opened up the sponsorship to us.
The city was doing the emergency 3K thing for a bit. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
And I couldn't get it because I was supposed to get it in 2019, and then COVID happened and they paused it. And then they ended up giving it to a lot of the providers, and it was like, yes, thank you. My roles are going up. And it worked out. Parents were really... got a lot of nurses, cops.
The essential workers, those who still had to work.
Yes. And my hours were long, but it was worth it, and I learned a lot. Mm-hmm. I did a lot of training during that time, so that's just me.
So for your home daycare, when you first started in 2018, you have a group family in Queens. And before you opened the group family, what was your goal? Like in terms of hours, like before COVID, I should say. Yeah. Like what was your if COVID didn't happen, what would your ideal house situation?
I was open from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Realistic, which is not honestly, if you're starting out, and you don't have help, because I was still working another job at that time. I was working as a developmentally disabled worker. I was doing giving meds. I was helping them do a bunch of things and running the daycare. My sister helped me out. She was an employee for a couple of months. So my goal was to just provide as much care as I can for the community.
Okay.
But I couldn't be in two places at once.
Yeah.
Of course.
And she was getting burned out. I was getting burned out because I was trying to relieve her and work the other job. So essentially the goal was to just provide as much care as I can. I know people who were asking, can I do extended day? Can I do night? I just wanted to assist as much as I could.
And it was just you and your sister.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think about possibly hiring more help, or you just...
At the time, yes. I didn't have a lot of knowledge about hiring at that time. Mm-hmm. I learned a lot along the way. Mm-hmm. And so after she ended up working, I did hire. And people just kept coming and going, especially during COVID. It was very hard to keep staff because a lot of people wanted to get unemployment.
Yeah.
I think at the time unemployment was like doubled or something like that, right?
I forgot about that.
Yeah. They didn't make it, the government didn't make it easy to keep people on staff.
Yeah, it was hard. It was hard to get and keep people. Yeah. But I've learned now how to hire according to personality, because I know myself, so I know I'm a nurturer, so I may need someone who's more of an action taker and more of someone who's more, I guess, I'm nurture and knowledge about the field, but I need someone who's more of like a blueprint, who's going to be like, all right, so we're doing that, but how? And just go on the research side of it and help me more with that side. But I've learned to hire for things that I'm not really good at.
That's good.
That's familiar.
I've gotten better.
Yeah, and that's hard in the beginning to figure out what to delegate and what not. Okay, so then when COVID happened, did you go beyond the 6 a.m. to 6 p.m.?
No, I stayed 6 p.m. only because I was burning out. And I couldn't really do anything. After COVID, I stayed, I think, till 7:30 because people started to go back to work.
Yeah.
And so then I extended the day to 7:30. Okay. But that was the latest I could do it because it's in home. I still have people who live there that come home from work. I don't want to take up, I'm already taking up a bulk of the day.
Right.
And so, and my dad and my brother and my sister, they were all respectful of the daycare. They have always been so supportive, but still, I just couldn't take up any more of this time.
You got to balance it out.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, so all those people live in the house.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
They were living there at the time. And so I have the whole first floor. And so they were living upstairs. And
is it a 2-family?
No, it's literally one house. Okay. And they were upstairs. But they never come down. And my dad, the thing is, the hours were so great because they worked nights.
Right.
So during the day, they were sleeping. Or if someone worked during the day, they would never intervene.
Right.
So they were very respectful. Anything I needed, or if they needed to do anything, we always spoke, we communicated very well about schedules and all that. So I've been able to keep it, to where it's like, okay, and then later on I discussed with them, I'm going to shorten my hours so you guys can have more time to do what you guys need to do during the day, so I'm not taking up too much of your time.
Makes sense. Yeah. Okay. And did you get to take advantage of like any of the disaster relief? Because I know you're a newer business. I remember there were like restrictions around if you could use the money if you've been open this long, or did you get
a lot of them? I didn't get to get any of it. I think there were some that came after that I was able to take advantage of, but the ones that were available during that time, I was just not able to get. So that made it harder to hire too, because then payroll.
Right.
But I'm very good at budgeting and saving. So luckily from my other job, I saved a lot, and so a lot of times what happened was I was taking income from that job to pay staff, or I was just not doing things, like not going out, which I got used to anyway, because I'm working all the time.
Yeah.
So I just would take what I would usually use to do other personal things to pay staff. So
right. Okay. Yeah, I can relate to like trying to work a different job while starting the business. I did that as well. When I first opened my home daycare, I was like, the first 3 months that I got I specifically rented a house to open a daycare in it, move in there and live there and open the daycare. But I was so nervous to leave my job that I didn't leave the job, and I was working in a daycare at the time. Like,
So
how is
working
that
in
going to
daycare,
work?
operating in daycare.
And I was trying to like advertise, and I think I had started interviewing, and that's when I found our first center director. Like, she interviewed with me as, I think she was my very first interview.
Really?
Either my first or my second, actually. And I ended up hiring her, but I think I told her, like, oh, you can't start yet because I don't have any kids. Like, I don't know what I was trying to do. I was trying to hire somebody to run the business while I was still working to make money. I was just scared, basically, to leave the job. But ultimately, obviously, how am I going to run a daycare and work somewhere
at the same
else?
time?
Yeah. So I think that only lasted like a month or two, and then I quit. And as soon as I quit, I started getting kids, obviously, because you can dedicate the time to now pour into your business to actually make it grow.
When did you realize you had to quit the first job to focus on your daycare?
When my sister started telling me I can't do this anymore, she was like, listen, okay?
Yes.
It's getting a bit
much.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And then I had 3 kids, and they were little, and at the time, you know, I don't have kids, so I didn't realize how much it was. Even though I worked with them, I didn't realize the toll it was taking on her. Because, like I said, I was only the person who worked. I didn't wear all the hats that everybody else did. I was just a worker. So I was just like, yeah, this is your shift. This is how much you get paid, and this is when you get paid. And she was just like, no, we're gonna have to sit down and talk about this. And I was like, all right, let's split the shifts. And then after that, she got a job. She was like, I can't do this anymore. And I was like, all right, so give me some time to leave my job and do over. This. Yeah.
What made you want to open your own daycare?
I just love kids. I love the field. Like working in other daycares, I learned a lot about the system and the children. And I thought that I liked babysitting, but I really enjoyed teaching and preparing them for the next stages. I saw a lot of things that I didn't like working in centers, and I saw a lot of things that I did love. And so I said, when I open mine, that's what I'm going to do, and that's what I'm not going to do. So it's just a love for the field. I just really love it.
Okay. And if your sister didn't sit you down and say, like, I can't do this anymore, when were you ever planning on leaving your job?
Probably not. Not that soon. I probably would have waited, especially if I had known what was going to happen the following year. But I had to. I know I had to leave.
It was almost like a push that you needed that you didn't know was coming.
Yeah. I think it was also burnout for both of us too. I can't be in 2 places. It was tiring. It was wearing us down. I was so tired. So.
But are you glad it happened?
I'm happy. Yes. I'm happy I made that decision.
That's good. So what are the ages of the kids that are in your care? Like, do you do the full 6 weeks to 12 years?
I used to. I don't do that anymore.
What do you do now?
It's 1 to 3 years of age because I do get early learn and 3K funding. So I only do 1 to 3.
Okay.
I have I'm in a group of a community of providers, so I'm able to, if someone calls and they need infant care, I just say, hey, I have this provider who may be able to assist. Do you want her information? So I just refer them. But I don't take any 6 weeks, any infants really.
Okay. And could you explain, just for anybody that might be interested and not know, like, what is early learn and what is 3K?
So early learn is for children ages 6 weeks to 1 or 1.5. It is a program sponsored by Department of Education. And 3K as well. 3K is for children 2.5. And so they start enrolling them at 2.5 and 3K. 3 years of age is basically it's like kindergarten for 3-year-olds. So it's like an early kindergarten, preparing them for kindergarten when they get into elementary school.
So that's before UPK?
Yes.
Okay.
Before UPK.
And are you able to explain, like, if a provider is in New York City and interested in getting started with something like that, like, who does she contact?
So there's a site on Department of Education. It's called My Schools.
Okay.
And you would put in your address, and a bunch of daycares will come up in your area. So you can put in your address, you can put in the zip code, and daycares will come up.
Okay. I need to grab a tissue, but you guys keep talking.
So would you recommend anyone to do that, or do you think like they should do the research first?
I would say do your research. Because like I said, you're going to get a list. but you want to pick the right daycare.
Okay, yeah.
You don't want to just send your child anywhere just because you have to go to work.
I agree.
And I've gotten that a lot. People just want to drop the kids off because they have to go to work, and that's why I do trial days.
Okay.
So I always tell them, even when someone calls and they're like, "Hey, I want to bring my child," and I'm like, "Yes, you should come for a trial day. See how you like the place." So a lot of times they call and they don't know it's a home daycare.
Really? So once they find the home daycare, does that determine whether they move forward or do they take a step back?
Sometimes they take a step back. Other times they're like, "Oh, okay, maybe they need a smaller setting," because sometimes children do need that.
I agree.
And so they're like, "Yeah, so home daycare is not bad."
Okay.
But people who are looking, sometimes I get that they're just like, I gotta go to work, and they think it's just babysitting,
and it's not.
And I have to explain to them on the phone, like, this is where you're leaving your child for a long time. Yeah. You want to make sure that they're comfortable, you're comfortable, the staff is comfortable, and then you choose. Yeah. You have to do a lot of research. So.
Not only that, too, the child is comfortable, and for those who probably don't do trial periods, explain what that is for you and why you chose to do that, because some providers sometimes open up and just like want the enrollment, wants the funding, but sometimes it could backfire. So can you explain a little bit why you chose to do like a trial period?
Okay, so I'll explain the part for the parents and for the providers. So for the parents, you want to make sure your child is comfortable, because you're going to be at work and they're going to be there with the staff. Exactly. So you want to see how they're interacting with the other children, the staff, the environment. You also want to make sure that the environment, because a lot of the home daycares, from what I'm hearing, is more set up like a home environment. You want it to be more engaging for them. So do they have an area where they can have free play or write, or what are they learning there? You want to know if they have curriculum. How are they preparing your child for the next stages? Are they just there to be babysat? Yeah. And that's not what you want. No. You want something that's going to help your child develop. So that's for the parents. For the staff, you want to make sure you're comfortable as well, because you have to be with the child, so you want to know what their behaviors may be. You want to be able to observe. I know I only do 2 days. Okay. Because a lot of parents do have to go to work and they want to make this decision. But I think it's important in those 2 days to make some type of observation and say, hey, I noticed this with the parent. Is this something you want to discuss further? And so I think that's important for the staff as well, because then you know what you can handle. A lot of times I wasn't able to take an enrollment, and it's not about the money, and that makes the parent feel comfortable too. Yeah. And you explain to them, like, I understand you have to go to work, but the child may need this type of setting. Yeah.
Do you require payment before those 2 days starts, or it's free 2-day trial?
Yeah, I don't charge them, because then if the child doesn't stay, then I don't charge. Yeah. And that also lets them know that it's really not. Trust me, if you don't love what you do, if you don't love this field, don't do it for the money. I agree. Because you're going to go through a lot of things that is just not worth the money. And if you don't love it, you're just not going to. Yeah. So it's for me, it's just making them feel comfortable. Everybody, the staff and the parent.
Yeah, that's key right there. It's not about the money.
It's not about the money.
If you don't love what you do, the money won't be worth it.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, all money is not good money. All those sayings. No. I've been there plenty of times.
We're still there. There's times where we have to be like, this is really more so about the child. Can they grow? Can we prepare them for the next step? And sometimes the answer is no. Where other providers just want to kind of hold on to them for the financial gain, but who you hurting?
Not even just the child. I've been there with the parents. Yeah. We don't need the drama that certain parents bring, the walking on eggshells, clenching every time. Yeah. I would be quick to let go of a parent that makes me feel uncomfortable in my business now versus back in the beginning, when I first started, especially as a home daycare provider. I was so nervous. I felt, and I started when I was 20. I didn't have kids of my own. I still don't have kids of my own, but can you imagine? Well, I'm sure you can imagine, but I just, parents coming to my door, thinking that they're not realizing who they are about to trust their child with, and they see someone that looks like a child themselves. So I felt insecure about that in ways, even though I already had the years of experience and the education. I was finishing, at the time I first started, I was finishing my bachelor's degree in education. But something inside me I had no confidence, basically. But that is important to remember that, like, don't keep hanging on to stress that's going to make you feel uncomfortable or burnt out. Mm-hmm. Are you in the New York State daycare providers groups? Any New York daycare on Facebook?
No.
Do you have a Facebook?
Mm-hmm.
There's 2 specific daycare groups I'm in for the state of New York. They're private groups, so I guess I'll share the name with you after. But their providers in there are constantly like complaining about experiences with parents and expressing their frustrations and like, how do you deal with a parent that comes in and disrespects you and blah blah blah. And the more seasoned providers are like, you don't. That's
easier said than done because you've been for years.
Paragraphs of a complaint, and they're just like, why are you dealing with this?
No. Little do they know, like, they're fresh, they're just starting up, they need the income. It's easier said than done, but I guess to get the experience of just saying, like, you know, let's just turn this parent away and just eliminate the stress.
Yeah. You wanna...
Excuse me.
Sorry. It's okay. This is going to be a fluid episode. Some of us might get up sometimes and not other times. But that's so interesting. I'll share the group with you later. Could you tell us a little bit about I know we were talking off camera about the Provider Society. Could you tell us what that is? When did it start? All of that.
Okay, so I actually started, so I got not sponsorship, but I got assistance from this group, Project Bright. This young lady, she helped me during COVID with the social emotional part of dealing with the children. And because I was getting a lot of children who had separation anxiety. So she helped me, and through them, I ended up finding out once I did their program and went through their system, and I was really good at helping the children and helping the other staff in their program. Okay. I said, well, maybe I should start doing this as a service. And so I started the Provider Society, where I just do consultations and coaching, new providers and people who just are not seasoned, like you said. Right. The people who are like, well, what do I do here? What do I do there? A lot of times I'm starting out, it's like with providing a service, because I have the nurturing personality. I don't know how to really be like, okay, you have to pay for this. That's a little bit extra. Right. But it's a program just to assist them with whatever they need help with as far as funding, anything.
So right now it's free. Like, people can contact you.
Yeah, the consultation part is free. They get 2 free consultations. And then if they need coaching after the 2 consultations, then I will coach them. And I will coach them in room arrangement, scheduling, hiring, anything they need to find resources. That part I do. But the coaching part is not free.
Okay. Yeah. Is this only for providers in New York?
No.
Okay.
Any providers, I do remote. I have one in Texas, and she just opened her center.
Oh, nice.
So that worked. That she did her 2 free consultations. She was actually prepared. I think it was a mindset thing where she just was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. And I'm like, girl, just do it. You're ready. And so I think sometimes that a lot of times, a lot of providers need that too. Just a little bit, somebody to just tell them, like, you got this.
Right.
You already have all the tools. Just do what you need to do.
So do you have a website, or how can people contact you to get help if they're trying to either open or manage their childcare program?
So right now, I'm only using my Instagram, so through DM, so at Krystal Kernall.
Okay.
But I'm working on the website. That's another thing. That's like another step. I've never done a website before, so I'm seeking assistance with that. I'm just working on everything. So it's under construction. It's in the
You have a website for your daycare?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Did you hire someone to help you do that?
No, I did that through Google. My dad kind of assisted, but it's just a Google site. It's not really like a website.
Yeah. You can make websites easy on Wix, Wix.com. You can do like free. You can make a free website, but if you do that, you won't be able to use your own custom domain name, like if it was the
yeah,
providersociety.com. If you wanted to use a domain name that is unique to yourself, like an actual URL, you would have to pay for the website hosting and the domain. But it's only it's probably about $30 to $40 a month, depending, or it could be like about $100. It depends on what sorts of add-ons you put on the website. But I'm sharing all this because you should absolutely make a website, and it's easy to do using Wix.com, because there's already templates.
Okay, good.
There's templates that you can plug and play.
Yeah,
that's how I got
That's
started.
what I need. Something with a plug and play. I can't do it from, because I've been trying.
You can do it. You just have to practice.
Yes.
And Wix makes it easy to practice. So you can start with a template, and then you can move things around as time goes by. Like if I showed you my websites from when I first started in the home daycare to what it looks like now, it would be like, oh, who did you hire to do this? It's still not perfect, but it's as you play with it and get used to the features, you get it looks better. So definitely start. I would suggest Wix, but there's also Squarespace, I think, is another one.
I saw Squarespace too.
Yeah, but I feel like Wix is easier.
Yeah, I was using ClickFunnels. It's something that someone told me about, and it's so hard to use. What in the world is this? So trying to use that, I'm gonna use Wix.
Wix. I'll text it to you later. So they can go to your Instagram at Krystal Kernall to find you and connect with you about the Provider Society.
Yes.
Okay, that's good to know. And how long have you been doing the consultations and coaching?
So 2020, I want to say 3 years. But like I said, it wasn't a service before. It was just something I was doing.
So now you're
now
more
it's
serious.
Service. So I would say I would say this would be the first year that I'm actually providing a service, but I've been helping and doing the consultation for 3 years.
People often ask me about room arrangements, and I'm like, I'm not your girl. So now I know I have somebody that does something like that. Yeah. So do you go to their location? Mm-hmm. Would you go to their location, or is it just on?
I have, and some have come to mine.
Okay.
And that's like I said, that's how I got started. They were observing me, and as they observe, I think the main thing was transitions with a lot of staff, and they had trouble transitioning the children. So explaining it to them, I show people better than I explain. So I would say, just come, and see how I do it. And they were like, how in the world are you getting these kids to go from one activity to the other? I said, well, one is having a routine, a consistent routine, and then, having a mutual understanding, because when they come in, I let them play. This is your time. Now this is my time. Now this is our time. So this is how we are scheduling small group and individual time and their free time. And so once they got that, they were like, oh, that seems easy. And then I just started doing the room arrangement things, because a lot of times the way that children see the environment is how they react to it. So it controls their behavior.
Right. Okay. I also, when I found you on Instagram a few weeks ago, I found that you have a podcast of your own. So shout it out. What is your podcast?
Daycare Diaries.
Daycare Diaries. I just shared it with Gigi right before you came, and I was like, please listen to some of her episodes.
I did.
And which one were you listening to?
I was telling her about the Google review one.
Girl.
And how... And how at first I was like, is it really that bad? But then, I also hear Dani say the same things that you were saying. Because, again, you guys are the owner of the company. So I'm like, is it really that bad? But then me being a parent, or just me just in general, when I'm seeking services, I look at the Google reviews. And sometimes that will determine my decision. So in this sense, I was like, I guess I get it, because someone is saying one thing when really the truth behind it, and the words they choose to put on the internet is completely different. And unfortunately, that could determine the next person's decision, whether they inquire or not inquire. Right. But yeah, I don't know if you just want to go.
They and the parent knows that when they do it.
Yeah.
So. It's happened before, except the parents just never went to Google. But it's when you're really extending yourself to someone and they do that, it's like, do I want to be nice anymore?
Yeah.
It makes you not want to be nice.
Mm-hmm.
But then, like I said, you get people who actually appreciate the service and what you do for the children. And we do, as providers, go above and beyond.
Yeah.
Like, we're really providing for your children. And so this lady, she just went to bully.
Yeah. I know it's hard probably like emotionally to put it to the side and just focus and be strong, but like you said, this is your passion, this is your business, so in a sense it kind of like plucked the nerve a little bit.
It did. I kind of wanted to cuss, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Because I know where her frustration is too, and so I waited before I actually responded to the review, and
thank you.
And I always respond with grace. I maybe edited a few times because I wanted to provide facts.
Yeah.
So when you're reading my review, here's the facts and here's why, and thank you for your feedback.
Yeah.
But she knows
the real truth.
Right.
You know the real truth, and you know the truth. Yeah.
So,
that's all that matters.
Yeah. So, and I did hear you say on the episode that like it made you question whether or not you want to be like nice anymore, like you just said, but like don't let anybody ever in any situation change who you are, or where your heart lies. Like they will be dealt with later in a different way. But I don't think I even shared this with you, but I have started to care less and less about like, and I guess it's different now because we actually have many good reviews, and before we didn't really have any at all. So negative ones like shined brighter because it's like, well, this is your only this is the only
it would hit home with, that's why I said I would, when
I tell you I'd be sick for days.
Yes. Can you believe this? I'm like, well, what did they say?
I spent hours on Yelp, like on the phone with Yelp one time.
Customer service to try to get it removed.
I to get it removed.
That's true. Yeah.
Lying. This is defamation.
Yeah.
Take this down.
Yeah, but I when I tell you that like it does not really. I used to check like every week. Like, do we have any negative reviews? Like now it's just like whatever.
Yeah.
But which is so this is like those negative reviews made it gave a lesson to me that how it's important to make sure you get positive ones, like push for positive ones as early as possible, even if you don't like you shouldn't have to try to like make up for negative ones. If you have none right now, try to get some. So we try to incentivize our parents to leave reviews now like every so often, so that way if there is a negative one here or there, it's like, but look at all these positive
and that's
ones.
exactly what I did. After that, I was like, "Hey guys, can you guys leave a review?"
Yeah,
and they were picking up. So I even called my old customers, like, "Hey, can you guys leave a review?" They were like, "Sure."
Yeah. Oh, that's
and
good.
So that really made me.
Oh, we should do that.
Yes.
Krystal, that's a good idea.
Yes.
Call the old parents.
Your first task as parent coordinator: touch base with all the hundreds of old parents.
We tried that. Oh, we tried it with the
but this will be easy because they don't have to leave their house to do anything. We've tried to like reach out to our old families in the past to like invite them to come out to things, but this is like, it's hey girl, how you been? How so and so? Can you please? Can you please leave?
Is that what initially made you want to start the podcast, just to kind of vent about that stuff?
No,
or just
she was crying one day on YouTube,
and that's what made you want to start it.
Yes. I said, girl, she's speaking my language. I swear.
What was I crying about this time?
Lady.
I'll show you what's the name.
Okay.
It's archived on my Instagram. I know it is. Because I posted it and I said, this lady knows exactly what we go through.
So Dani made you want to start your podcast.
Yes.
Okay.
So she did a YouTube and she was talking about all the things, like just a struggle of, I guess she was going through something. Mm-hmm. And I said, you don't see people showing this side. The parents, nobody sees this side of us. And this lady is really showing what we go through as providers and people that just own daycares. Like, it's really hard. It's not easy.
It's not.
And so I said, you know what? I'm going to talk about it.
You're going to vent too. I'm going
to vent too. Mm-hmm. And so that's what I said.
Aww. I got to share that time. Wow. Yeah, you definitely gotta share that. I want to know what were you crying about this time? So many times. Yeah, is this like something recently or like a while ago?
Old.
It was
This is a full circle because it's very old.
Really?
It's an old video. It's an old video.
It was probably about COVID. I think I did a video when COVID first started about like how hard it was.
Really?
Yeah.
Miss opened a whole center during COVID. You were crying about COVID?
In the beginning, yes.
we really did have to put
Can you like? I think about it now, and I'm like, I probably sounded crazy to our staff because I remember like it was yesterday.
She did. I'm like,
no. I mean, like, I remember like it was yesterday, like March. I think it was March 15th.
Mm-hmm.
Literally March 14th or March 15th. I was laying on the couch in my apartment in Philly, scrolling through my emails, and I saw that I was on a newsletter list for the Philadelphia like government or like the Philadelphia daycare licensing agency, and they had sent out a blast about how like all daycares in Philly are closed. Like no daycares can be open in Philadelphia. And it also mentioned that like everybody's getting paid. Like the anybody that has a subsidy, they're going to continue to get their subsidy payments. And
I remember that part because she was pissed that New York weren't doing that.
So then the next day, I went. I was looking. I was working. I was on my computer. I'm looking on. I think I was either on YouTube or because news stations were streaming live like the press releases or something so I was online. I was looking at Laura at the time. I don't know if she's currently the executive what's the title? It was like the governor of Long Island, not the governor, like the mayor of Long Island.
Oh, okay.
The executive
commissioner or something like that.
I don't know, what is the title for Long Island? You know how like New York City has a mayor? There's like an executive something for Long Island. I know what you
mean, like executive.
And her name is Laura Karan. Okay. Or was. I don't think she's the person anymore. But anyway, whoever makes the decisions in Long Island, she was talking about how public schools are shut down. And then like I'm looking for information from OCFS, and OCFS was basically like, you can do what you want to do.
It's up to you. It's
really stay open or closed. Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I'm asking around, like, are we gonna get
paid if we decide to close?
At this time we had one center, and most of the money came from DSS, and in New York City it's ACS. So I was like, if we close, DSS is not going to pay us.
They made that very clear.
So what are we going to do? Are we OCFS is saying we don't have to close. Our licensing is saying we don't have to close. But DSS is not saying nothing about the pay.
Yeah.
So it was like, and we could not afford to close for an unknown period of time. Or actually at that time, it was supposed to be just 2 weeks. If you remember, it was like a 2-week thing. In 2 weeks,
and then it changed to a whole month.
Then it changed to a month, and then it changed to.
Because I think you gave staff the option whether to stay and
so then the next day or that next week, I finally addressed to staff and was like, "Well, we're going to be open. Yeah. So if you would like to still work, you can. But if you're scared or if you can't, I understand." At this time, parents started pulling their kids
out. Yeah,
and you started getting cursed out by parents.
Because we tried to honestly. Then it was really smart with the school system closing. We're like, we're gonna stay open. We need to meet payroll. How can we be there for families and keep our staff who do want to work employed? We did the whole virtual learning because that's when the school system opened up. We converted our whole classroom into virtual learning, and it worked out really, really great. We also did virtual learning of our own. So parents who did pool, we changed the tuition fee. We managed a tuition fee where we. When I tell you, when we sit down and strategize, like amazing things can happen.
And then
we bought supplies on our own, and we would drop off supplies for that week for families. And then we had a staff member that would get online each morning, and we'd do our morning circle time, our morning activity, and we would be done by like 12. They paid a fee for that, but we supplied the supplies for them. So we're talking about on a Monday morning getting supplies ready for about 15 children. Then we're physically dropping them off at their houses, and then they log in by like 10 for a morning lesson time. So we did that. We did the virtual learning. We did every other schedule. So we didn't, those staff who did want to stay on, a lot, but baby, she figured it out during the pandemic. And I want to say during the pandemic,
I told you to try to get new, like,
new
reach out
enrollment.
to essential workers.
Yes, so I would call hospitals. I would call.
You called the police station. And they were like, it's people like you that keep this pandemic going.
No, actually, it was a parent. It was a parent, and ironically, she was a nurse
that said that to you.
But I think it was a nurse. It was a nurse.
It was a parent that was upset with you.
Yes.
That was a nurse, but you also called the police station to offer our service.
Baby, the person said, you're the reason why COVID is never going to come to an end because you guys should be closing. You're spreading COVID. I said, I don't know. I'm sorry you feel that way. I was flabbergasted. I didn't know what to say. I said, I'm sorry you feel that way. We are considered essential workers. There's some people who unfortunately do have to work, and I'm just extending that courtesy.
He probably had his
if you don't want it, that's fine. But to put me in my place while I'm trying to
offer help,
because honestly, there were families who wanted to stay home, who were scared, but that wasn't an option for them.
Right.
Yeah. It wasn't an option for them, and we were also in that position. It wasn't an option for us because we had to provide care for those who did not have that option as well. Yeah. So yes, we're scared too, but then we also have to put our best foot forward and continue on, because if we don't have childcare services for the nurses, the doctors, how are they going to provide care for those who are unfortunately being diagnosed with COVID? Yeah. So it was like a circle, like let's work together and figure it out. Not break me down and make me feel bad about what I'm trying to do, because I was like, I said I'm not calling another parent. I was like, I'm not calling another parent. I just got my head chopped off, and she was like, what happened? And we immediately just removed that person from our call list. But it's just like, come on, I didn't need it, but I pushed forward and I continued calling, and I want to say we had a great enrollment.
Well, we were
thriving. Yeah. Ironically, we were thriving for the pandemic, and then we stumbled on our second location during the pandemic. So we figured it out.
We figured it out.
We figured it out.
That's good.
Did you stayed open during the pandemic?
I closed for a few months, and then I opened.
But you were part of the city's, like the city was still paying, similar to Philly, DOE, at people in New York City that had like pre-K for all.
Oh, so it was just Long Island then? Wasn't getting it then?
It was the rest of the state.
Yeah, okay. Because everywhere else was like, nope.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that's another thing that happened. A lot of people who weren't able to get care in their area, that's how I got fully enrolled.
Because they traveled
and dropped the kids off. So
right.
It worked out.
Yeah, crazy times. Crazy times. Were you doing virtual learning too for your?
It didn't work out.
People didn't log on. People were like,
was it mandatory? Like the city made you guys as providers
because we had to give evidence of the virtual learning. Mm-hmm. So we had to kind of record the video, send it to our person, and they would be like, okay, so she did it. Or put in a note or something saying I logged on, but the person didn't log on.
Got it. Okay.
So they would be able to pay us.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't believe it's been 3 years. Over 3 years since
I think I was just telling her, like, I was like, is COVID still here? And she was like, she's like, yes.
People still get
Yeah, I literally just asked her that the other day. It's crazy.
But yeah, back to the podcast and those reviews. Yeah. I can't. Yeah, it is very impactful and hurtful and disappointing when you get a negative review. And you know what kills me? And I think it's Google where you could do this, where like if you leave a review, anybody else that's reading it, like if they agree with it or like it, or if it was helpful, they could thumbs up.
Yes.
Or on Yelp, they can react. They can either laugh or frown or something.
What?
I hate when people react.
That's being a bully.
When I see a negative review and people are like, thanks, I'm like,
Yeah, because somebody definitely thumbs up. That's my only bad.
I'm like, don't.
Like,
Encourage
what do you like about
them.
it? What do you like about
Don't
that?
encourage them. How do you know it's true?
Right. What is there
Yeah.
to like about that?
Yeah.
Somebody else lying about somebody else's service.
But what all the steps you said that you took is exactly what you anybody should do if you get a negative review. And sometimes two things can be true. You could have a great program and you could mess up.
Yeah,
And
we're not
and you
perfect.
can get a negative review that has like truth to it, or even little bits of truth to it. And if that's the case, it's best to just like own up to it, apologize, even if everything is false, apologizing for like
their feelings.
Yes.
Sorry you feel that
exactly.
way.
And you start always with grace.
Yes.
Because
they're watching.
Yes. You never know who's reading it like, oh, she read her, but she did it respectfully.
Yes.
So you want to make sure that whoever...
And then stating facts. I remember, I think one of our first... I'm sorry, but I have bad allergies, so now my nose is like clogged. I think one of our first negative reviews was the situation where we had to call CPS because the child with multiple brothers said that his dad, he said something about an action that his dad took, and whether it was true, whether it was true or not, this was a old enough child, and he was like a school age child, so he was old enough to speak and recall memory and whatnot. So he's saying his dad did XYZ to him. We called CPS because we, as mandated reporters, we have to.
Yeah, parents don't realize that. Sometimes it's not even that. For those out there, we don't love calling the mandated reporter hotline. That's something we do not like wake up saying, oh, I'm going to do that for fun today. No, if we could choose not to do it, of course, that's the option we will always take. But when children vocalize things or when we see things, it's not up to our determination to make. We just have to take that step and hope for the best.
Right.
You know?
So we called, and then the police came. The kids were in our care, so I think the police came to us like before the parents came. And of course, it was a whole ordeal.
Yeah.
She threatened to like sue us.
It was
just a phone call threat. Like I don't think any knowledgeable lawyer would take that case. Like they literally did what they had to do.
She did leave a bad review.
Yeah, but that's what I'm getting to. So she left days later, she left a bad review explaining that we called. And then in the review, I think she kind of like outed herself about like what the kids I think that she said something about like the kids fell down the stairs at home or something weird. So
she admitted to
something happening.
And like I said, it's not up to us to determine what really happened. That's the mandatory reporter hotline.
But my response to that, I like wanted to immediately respond. I was screenshotting, crying, calling them, telling what should I say. I put it in a group, like the Facebook group. I was telling how should I respond to this. And then the next day I responded like apologizing for the experience that she went through, but educating like as mandated reporters. We are licensed child care providers. We are mandated reporters. We have to take this action. And I was like, hopefully someone reads this and they realize like, oh, this daycare does the right thing.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's definitely important to have some sense and be calm when you're responding to negative reviews. I remember one time I was looking to buy a dog. This is years before I got George.
You looked at reviews?
I was looking at this company in Philadelphia, this puppy store, and they had the cutest puppies, like the cutest like marketing, whatever. I went to look at their reviews, and their reviews were not bad, but there were like maybe 3-star, 4-star, and people would say like, oh, I had good experience, blah, 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 but this, and this. And the little but this, and this, the owner took so personally and was like, borderline cursing people out in responses to their review. And I'm just like, this woman is crazy. I didn't buy a dog because of her.
I was gonna say because of the way she handled the situation. I wouldn't, because then that goes to show like, is there some truth to it? Like, why be so defensive?
Right.
But you know, it's 50-50. Like, I get that's your business, protect it, and you probably are very like emotional, sensitive about it. But then also, you know, it is a business, so professionalism is extremely important.
Right.
And every time something happens, like you said before, take it as a lesson.
Yeah.
Yes.
Sometimes things happen. You didn't know it was going to happen. Just say, okay, next time now I know to do this differently.
Right.
I agree.
It's important to own up to your stuff. If you do something wrong, take accountability.
We're human. Yeah.
Apologize, try to make it right. And if you can't make it right and someone decides to leave your business or no longer do business with you, that's okay.
It won't be the end of the world. It's just one person, like you said, it's a lesson learned, and you'll just approach the next person differently.
Right. But what is one of the biggest lessons you have learned so far in business?
Stick to your policies. Do not go against your policies. Always have a policy, always have contracts, and stick to those. Having those systems run the business. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Having a system and having your policies and procedures always help. I think one of the reasons why sometimes I may get a bad review or may have a problem with a parent is because I'm trying to be nice and not follow my own policy when I should have just said, well, look, in the policy it says this, that. So I understand sometimes we want to be nice, but follow your policy, go according to your system, and should be fine.
Yeah, that's my biggest issue too. And I would always call Dani and be like, this parent wants this. Like, oh my goodness, can we do this for her? And because she works on the business, not in the business, she doesn't have that feeling. So she's like, what's in our policy?
Right.
I was like, I didn't look. She goes, this, and this is in our policy. And then after a while, she goes, blame me. Well, not her, blame the policy. Like, parents will understand at the end of the day, you're not the decision making. But if you say, I would love to. But our policy states X, Y, Z, X, Y, and Z. And immediately they know it's the policy. You don't have the authority to change it. So instead of them allowing them to make you feel bad, I'd be like, it's our policy. I would love to. But our policy states this, and I just have to follow our policy. So I agree, definitely sticking to the policy, because once you make that one exception, they're like, well, you made it.
You won't be able to stop. And as soon as you say no, that's when
they're like, but you did it this one time. Why can't you do it again? And you're just looking like,
that's when the problem. Like, I should have never did that.
I was trying to be nice. Now you're just gonna throw it in my face. But it, like you said, it goes to show, like, just hold on to a policy, because after a while, the policy is what protects you. And the policy is what makes it the consistency of them understanding the flow of the company. And like you said, once you make that one exception, it goes left. And then now when you're trying to uphold the policy, they're like, well, you didn't do it before.
You didn't follow this before, so what's the point of doing it now?
Yeah, so I agree, the policy, definitely. Is there anything, like, in your policy that you had, like, to remove or add as time went by? Yeah.
I've edited my policy so many times.
Yeah.
Specifically the pickup and drop off policy, mainly because a lot of people don't follow it. They just feel like
they come anytime, drop off anytime.
I
think,
anytime.
And for home daycare, it's difficult, because I think Dani mentioned to me in the past, like, let's say, for example, drop off at 6:30, you'll get that parent at 6:15 knocking on your door, not realizing, yes, it's a home daycare, but this is still my home.
Really
Oh, not only that, they don't care.
They
don't care.
Really?
They don't care.
And it's hard for them to care if you don't act like you care yourself.
Yeah,
I had a parent when I first started that my hours were 6:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. And I had this dad ask me, like, okay, I have to get to work by 6 a.m. I need to drop off my daughter by 5:30. You know what I said? Okay.
I've done it.
I said, okay.
Yeah.
And
so you're just answering the door in your pajamas, huh?
Yep.
Pretty much.
Wow.
You lay right here. It wasn't. Thankfully, she wasn't a baby. She was 3 or 4 years old at the time, and I got a cot out, put her on the cot, and finished getting ready.
Really?
But like after a while, I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah. Yep, I've done that. If they don't. I think with the home setting too, it's hard to get people to understand this is actually an educational facility. It's not, not just babysitting. And so it goes back to trial days where they get to see, where I get to explain a curriculum. I get to explain, this is our schedule. They come in, they eat breakfast at this time. This is why you're dropping off from this time to this time. And I'm sticking to the schedule. I had to put a note on my door after a while, like, the latest drop off is at this time. If you come at this time, you won't be coming in.
Yeah. Do they still knock?
Yep. and ring the bell like a few times, and I'm just
I would
looking at the
ignore
camera
it. No, yeah, just
sorry,
ignore
we've
it.
already started our lesson. It's very distracting.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it seems mean, a little anal, but it's like
not.
it's important because the other children are now used to a schedule. We have to keep them consistent. If you're not, then it's chaotic.
Yeah, I was telling Denny our drop off time, and in the beginning we would make the exception, and once we start saying no, they're like, "Well, I'm only 5 minutes late. I gave you like 50, 11 chances before.
Yeah.
I'm coming for so far."
Mm-mm. I don't do that no more.
No, I don't. And at first I would feel bad, but it's to the point where I look them straight in the face and I really don't feel bad anymore because now then on top
Taking
of that,
advantage.
and then they're like, "Can you still give them breakfast?"
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
You're late and you want me to do what?
You still
My kids are already starting their morning circle time. Breakfast was done 45 minutes ago. So not only are you dropping off late, you want me to give them breakfast. So it's one thing for running late because you gave them breakfast or whatever case, but now you want me to add on to like basically what is it called? Insult to injury. What's the saying?
Add insult to injury.
like ma'am. Cuddle time is 10 o'clock. It's 10:15. You want me to give them breakfast? Like, no, it's like, come on.
You didn't feed before. No. See, yep, that's what happens. And that's why I was like,
do you see yourself expand?
I would love to.
Center or another home?
Yeah, I would love to. I just haven't. I don't know. I guess this is like I'm back where I was when I was working and running the daycare. I'm kind of like feed in, feed out. But because it's bigger, it's more of a responsibility. But I would love to expand.
I think you could do it. Don't.
Yeah, you absolutely can.
You can.
How many employees do you have right now?
3.
That are any of them relatives or like their actual? Okay.
My relatives, everybody moved, so 3 of them and 2 permanent and 1 on call.
Okay.
So she just comes when another person calls out, and it's going pretty well. But I just feel like I don't know if they'll be ready for the
expansion.
Yeah, because I just got them. They've been with me for a couple of months now, and so training them and getting them used to it. These are people that haven't really worked in daycare before.
Yeah,
they love kids, but they don't know about the curriculum and teaching it. So training them to do that, I think they could, but I don't know.
Well, if you see something in them, and Danny does it all the time, being a mentor, just being the person in charge, in a sense, help them to see that as well, because I'm sure you hired them for a reason.
Yes.
So if you,
very
so on a day-to-day, like the more you pour into them, hopefully they'll see that and they'll follow you along. Your first person you hired followed you along, and
for a long time.
Yeah, for years. So I think as you pour into them, into your business, if it's meant to be, they'll follow you along.
Every Friday, that's what I do too. I do my trainings every Friday. And I'm always telling them, like, okay, so what happened this week? Like, we're having, like, open conversations.
Which is good.
Yeah, and they're like, well, I didn't like this, I didn't like that. Well, this is how you can handle this. And they're like, oh, thanks. And I think 2 of them have kids, and the other one doesn't. And she's like, I don't know how you guys do it. You go home and take care of your kids after this.
I say that to my staff sometimes. I was like, God knew, because if I didn't have kids before daycare, I'd be like, this is it for me. Yeah, it is tough.
Yeah.
So do you have 3 employees, right? I myself, when I had the home daycare, at one point I think I had 4 or 5 people on payroll. And it was because I was trying to remove myself from providing the direct care with the kids. I started like leaving them, well, not leaving the house, but like leaving them to do most of the work with the kids while I was working on expanding the business, like at my desk, like trying to find other opportunities, doing like the paperwork and all of that. And that worked out because, we now have centers. But like, is that what you're trying to do with why you have that many?
I'm learning
because
now.
most providers only have like themselves and maybe like 1 or 2 on and off assistants.
Yeah, I'm learning now to do that because I was just always like, oh, these are my babies, I can't be doing with anybody. So now I'm learning to kind of delegate and just say, I'm going to be in my office. If you need anything, just call me.
Right.
And then maybe 1 or 2 times I'll like go like downstairs or upstairs to where I'm out of sight. I have cameras, but still I'm like just watching from afar. And they've been really good. Like I've been really good with the staff.
That's
So
good.
they're really good. So I'm like, I can leave you guys and I can go, but I still wouldn't even go far. But that's the whole goal. Just to kind of transition out of doing the bulk of the work. So that I can take more help more other providers too during the day. I know a lot of them work during the day, so their hours are after, so I can kind of go to them after they close and help them with whatever they need. But sometimes they need that hands-on during the day, and I really just don't have the time sometimes if I have the staff there. So
okay, well that's good to know that you have the flexibility to step out and help providers during the day and all of that. Have you started looking at commercial spaces for possible expansion?
I have. The market is so weird. I don't even know how to look. I know I'm writing things down. I'm like, okay, this is what I want. This is space I would like. But just knowing how, like I said, it's another learning curve for me. I don't know how to search for.
Would you do Queens?
I was gonna ask that.
Try to make it
Queens or Long Island. You want to stay within Queens?
I would love to. I've never looked for Long Island places. So.
Yeah, the difference. It's a little bit easier in terms of getting licensed to open in Long Island or anywhere else in New York State because, the licensing agencies are different. With Long Island, it is OCFS, and with Queens and the rest of the boroughs, it's Department of Health. They have their own Article 47 regulations, and the rest of the state follows Part 418. Of New York State regs. So with New York City, you have to have that director that has a teaching license, which you're probably familiar with because you do the 3K. But in Long Island and everywhere else in the state, you don't have to have a teaching. You don't have to have that. And you don't have to do there's a fire department exam you have to take to open a center in New York City, in the boroughs. You have to go I think you have to go to a fire station and take a written exam, or you have to go somewhere and take a written exam for fire safety, and then they have to come and observe you doing a drill. That's what I've heard, to your center. And then there's a lot of little hurdles and hoops you have more so on the city side versus the rest of the state. Plus the teaching license, getting a director that has the license itself is a hurdle. Because you have to, if you don't have it yourself, you have to find somebody that's willing to, instead of teaching in the public school system, be your center director, which is possible. Obviously, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of daycare centers in the city, but it's just you have to really incentivize them, I would assume, with that pay and those benefits, I guess.
Yeah. That's another hurdle with payroll. Because they do, and that's another reason why you have to pay attention to how you hire. I do hire people who have experience working with children, but they really don't have the certification and license. So I can't, they're like assistants, but I can't really leave because I'm the only one with the
experience and the college certification.
Yes. But they're good providers. They're really good at what they do.
And I do that myself as well. If you see something, and Gigi, I know you were saying that I do that. I intentionally do that because yes, you can find someone that has very little experience, very little education, and you can help build them up in this career, help get them excited about it, show them why they should stay in it versus someone that already has this particular mindset or views or has already been trained by, and they come in and they think that they're telling you how to run your business or that you think they think that they know better than you. And maybe better is not a word. They know different. They know differently than you.
Their experience
and different
is
fine. But that's just not how we do things here.
Right. I've had to do that several times with it's teachers, people who are retired, and then I'm hiring them. I'm like, oh, she's so sweet. And then it's because they get trial days too. The employees get trial days too. They come in, they do their. I have them do lessons with the children and see how they're interacting. And when I meet with them, I'm like, this is just. They're like, no, I do it this way, and I'm like, no, that's not how it's supposed to be done. So I've had that happen, but I do incentives where I say, because I have resources where they can get free CDA programs and
continuing education.
Yes. So I do offer that. Well, if you get this, you can get more pay.
Yeah.
If you do that, and they're like, oh, really? Sometimes they do it. I have one provider who she's in the CDA class right now, so she is taking the steps to do it. But she's like, I have to go back to school and work.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. So I try to make sure I'm like spreading out her time so she has time to study and get a book prepared and help her out. But yeah, it's hard.
Right.
It's definitely hard. That's a lot. I didn't know that to open a center was all that.
You can do it though. You can. And there's other providers out here that aren't even doing half of what you do at a center level, and you're in a home level. Like, you can do it. Yeah. It's tedious, is what I call. It's not hard or difficult. It's just a lot of paperwork, a lot of like handing things in, calling the city. It's a lot of tedious work, but not difficult. So if you find the right, and I can share off of this, like my realtor, if you're interested in working with a real estate agent to help you find a location. And my nose has clogged again.
It's difficult, but it's doable, and the reward will be fulfilling. Because I'm sure Dani couldn't even imagine 3, 4. Let alone 5, because she's in the moment person. I'm a future person. So right now in the moment, you're probably thinking you can imagine. But once you complete it and you're like at center number 1, you're like, oh, what was I? Yeah. And then before you know it, then you're going to start wondering, center number 1, I wonder if I could do center number 2. Then you're at 2.
Well, is that your goal? Like, do you want that? No, because there's some people that don't.
Okay, with just one. Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing, like being comfortable and like where you are. Right? Not even necessarily the word comfortable is wrong, but like just being happy and wanting to grow within where you are is possible. You could continue to expand. You don't have to have a desire to have like multiple dozens or hundreds of locations in order to be successful. You can be successful right where you are and continue to develop your business and even earn more income, take on different clientele, add on other services. That's fine. But like, do you have a passion for owning multiple locations?
Okay. Yes, I would love to do that. And then it would give me the opportunity to train more too, which I love. Help coaching other providers. So I think having a bigger space and training them and teaching other people how to train them, which I like doing that. So having a bigger space would help me with that too. Like I said, I've looked and then I'm like, this seems like a lot. Let me just go ahead on back to my little small. It's a matter of fear of just taking that next step, but I'm getting over that. I'm conquering one fear at a time, because I remember I didn't like the sound of my voice on podcasts. Now I'm starting to do videos. You sound like me. So,
I hate the sound of my voice.
Yeah, so now I'm like, okay, I can do this.
So career-wise, I know it's going to sound so typical, like, where do you see yourself 5 years from now? Like, if you can say...
in your business.
Yes, in your business.
I think I will have a few buildings.
Okay.
One would be for teaching... providers,
like a training
center, which I would love, because like I said, when I started out, I didn't have anybody to help me, nor did I know anybody who owned a business at all. So just learning about that side of it was a challenge in itself. So I would love to assist other people with that, but I do see myself going bigger. My goal is to retire my dad. He still works. He loves working, but he needs to retire. He needs to stop and just relax. So anything to get me to that goal, because he's taking care of us his whole life. So
that's good.
I think
that's a beautiful goal.
I agree.
You're going to do it soon.
Yes. You are. We're going to put out there, you are.
Do you have any sort of, like, when you do, have you thought about getting, like, TTAP credential? Do you know what that is? No. In order to, like, be able to issue certificates recognized by OCFS.
It's like hours it's for trainings.
Yeah, so like if you're TTAP certified, or what's the other thing called, like you have to go, in order to become certified to be a trainer, you have to take like certain trainings or go through a process to apply yourself through the state, and that way whatever certificates you give your training attendees, they can use it as hours for I looked it up.
I did look that. I didn't know it was called T-Tap though.
One of them is called T-Tap, like T-Tap Credential, I think it is. I'll share the links with you later, but you should do that. And we're about to have a big, like, we're getting our office space soon. And in that office space, there's a big room that we're going to use for training for our staff predominantly. Mm-hmm. But if you ever need, like, a big space to host a training and have, like, your attendees come and sit down in person, you can hit me up and I'll use the office space. But definitely look into that T-Top stuff, because then you can list yourself on the, I think you can list yourself on the Aspire registry. Mm-hmm. Do you know what that is?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think you might even be able to list yourself on ECETP, so people can find you for training. But you have to have that credential.
That would be great, because I think that's one of the challenges now. I do the coach, like I said, the consultation for free, but getting them to transition into the paid part is like, well, I'm paying for it and I'm getting that, but they want something that they can kind of like say, okay, here, my center is better, I have a better system, but the hours would definitely help, because they do need the hours.
Yeah.
They do need the hours. Every month, you have to do a certain amount of hours. Yes. That would help. That would definitely help.
You don't need to, like, so I've been doing consulting for a few years now, where people are paying for 45-minute sessions.
I was definitely going to ask you, like, would you suggest do I keep doing it free or no?
No, I if you do it free, I would give them like what is it called, like a tease or something, like a preview of why it's worth for them to take the next step to be paid. Would you agree, or how would you?
So I'm starting to like not love
nothing free.
No. I was gonna say that, like, I love the feeling that I get when I help people through the consultations, and like when they first reach out, or like, well, usually when we jump on, the first thing that they'll say is, I've been watching you for years, like your YouTube videos, or thank you for your videos, or they'll make a comment about the videos. Mm-hmm. So I think for me, that is what is free. I have hundreds or thousands, probably at this point, of hours worth of free things that they could watch online, or on my website I have free like print, like PDF downloads that they could, like worksheets. I have free accessible content online, and that's what makes people like, okay, but I need help with this specific thing about my specific situation. And then they'll book in order to ask specific questions. Or some people they see that, like, I know what I'm talking about because I have the YouTube channel with all the hours and hours worth of content. So they're like, okay, well, I don't feel like watching that. Let me just
I want some one-on-one time.
So I think, like, if you're struggling with creating a boundary of like, okay, I'm spending a lot of my personal time for free, just put your foot down. Yeah. Would you do childcare for free?
No.
So then, you gotta draw the line somewhere. If you want to control, like, how much of your energy you're putting out there for free, then continue to make content, and you could publish your own, like, self-help, like, literally just do what I'm doing with the YouTube. Make YouTube videos, or if that's not your thing, like, make Instagram Reels, or Instagram, go live and save it and put it on your page. Okay. Like, do specific topics. Maybe frequently ask questions or that's another thing. You could host like a live with your followers and do like a free consultation for them for like 10, 15, 20 minutes. Save it, put it on your page, and that way, like, you're giving that person that thing for free, but it's continuing to serve you because other people are watching it and can see it, and then they can then be incentivized to book you. But give your content away for free on your own terms, like on social media in some way. If people are interested in like what you do, how you do, what you know, then you can send it to them. Like, here's a link to all the stuff that I have done. If you're interested, here's how you can book me. That's what I would do if I were you.
Yeah, because that's my thing. I get to talking about daycare with them on the phone, and it's all free stuff. And then they're like, well, you just gave me all this for free. Why should I pay for it? So that's where I'm like, do I continue the free consultation? And I did meet with someone. They were telling me, like, charge them.
Yeah.
Charge them because it's valuable information. But.
Yeah, I also don't get on the phone with anybody. I don't call, nobody has my number. They just go to my website and book me, and we get on Zoom calls. So if people have my phone number,
I need to get my website up.
Yeah. Or you could put the book now button on your Instagram.
Yeah, because
there's a book now button on Instagram.
Yes, I saw that too.
You could even do it on Calendly. Make an account on Calendly. You know what Calendly is?
Yeah,
Calendly.com. And you can send people the links to, and on Calendly you can charge. So like you can set up your calendar and put a fee attached to booking your calendar. So you don't even really need a website for that. You could just create a page on Calendly, add the hours that you're available, and when people want to book you, you can set it up so that it charges them first. And then you could put that link in your bio or keep it somewhere so when people are inquiring with you through email, send it to them. Like, but I don't do, like, sometimes people have asked, like, can I get on a quick call with you? Like, through DMs, they'll ask, like, can I call you? And like, oh, this is, if you have a quick question, you can send it to me here. If you want to get into something specific, here's how you can book me. And I send them the link to my calendar page on my website. But if you get on the phone with some people, let me not say all, but some people might take advantage of it. Or even if they don't feel like they're taking advantage, it drains. It can be draining if you have dozens or hundreds or thousands of people that want your attention. So start there. Definitely make your website.
Definitely making a note of it because everything you said has happened. So I know that I need to like get the website, get my calendar app updated because I use Google, but it doesn't have where you can charge.
Yeah.
So I need to go back to Calendly.
I'm surprised Google doesn't have where you could charge.
I didn't see where you can charge. I only send my calendar updates.
Okay.
To them so they can book.
Okay.
And then once they book, I'm like, okay, well, thank you for booking, and I'll email them, and then they're like, they have my number though.
Yeah.
Hey,
no, don't give out your number.
And then we were on the phone for 2 hours, and I'm like,
I never gave out my number. I mean, there's a very few, mostly people that I have met in person. Like if I have a client that has met me in person or came to, like I tried to do like in-person like training at my center one time. So I think those few people have my number. But no, I think I learned from families in my daycare program never to give out my personal number.
Oh yeah, no, I don't.
Our parents don't have any,
no boundaries.
Yeah.
None. They call any time of night. I think I learned that in the beginning too.
Yeah, I don't give out my personal number anymore anyway. But in closing, tell us about the grant hunt. I know you were saying that you have a book. So tell us about that.
The grant hunt is kind of like where I went down a rabbit hole searching for funding during COVID. And just to have the money to stay open and pay staff. So the grant hunt is just a knowledge I accumulated over time with my hunting for grants and sponsorship. So it kind of just gives people who really don't know how to, but an idea on tips on how to fill out for grants.
Is this a physical book or like a digital?
It's a digital book. Right now it's on Amazon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I do offer, my clients, I do offer them the book they can just ask me and I email them the book. Okay. But that's just something that I give them when they ask me about funding, but it is on Amazon.
You better drop the name of the book.
So the Grant Hunt. The Grant Hunt.
Okay, it's called the Grant Hunt.
Yeah,
I think
it's the Grant Hunt.
Okay.
You can find it on Google. You just type in my name, Krystal Kernall, and the Grant Hunt should come up. And it's just a guide.
Okay,
it's a guide too.
Nice. Okay. So, and that's actually like one of the top 3 questions I get asked immediately. How do I get money to open my daycare? Or how do I get money for my daycare? Where can I find grants? So definitely go to Amazon, type in the Grant Hunt, and hopefully you have.
In school, I was telling Dani, because was in school, and I was talking about some of my classes, and she was saying how when she was in school, like, it had nothing to do with stuff like that. One of my classes was about different grants and how to find opportunities. Yeah,
it's very important.
It is very important.
It's hard.
Funding or non-funding, just anywhere of how to understand it and who qualifies for it, whether it's for-profit, non-profit. So I think grants would be one of the top 3 things to know when starting a childcare. Would you agree?
Yeah, if you, it is also, realistically, it is important to understand that grants is not going to be the majorities of everyone's situation on how they start their business. I did not start with a grant. I started with an investor, basically, a family friend that wanted to open a daycare. I've told that story hundreds of times. But I don't personally know anybody that has started their business with 100% just grant funding. So realistically, it could be something that helps you.
Yes.
But it's likely not going to be something that you can rely fully on.
Yes, and I'm sure I put that in the book. It's not something that you just think, okay, well, I got the grant and I can just use it to do everything. No,
you can't just decide tomorrow, I want to open a daycare.
Right.
And let me go get a grant.
Let me go get some money.
Let me get a grant.
And it's a system. It's hard. You're going to get a lot of no's before you get a yes sometimes. So it's important to know which grants fit your need and how to apply and speak to the grantors and the lenders.
And your book goes into details of different. Okay.
It just tells you how to do that because I learned I got a lot of no's. And so every no I got, it's like, all right, they said no because blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And this is what I need to do because I did that.
Right.
And a lot of times when I did that, I was able to revise and go back and
that's amazing. I don't think I've stumbled across anyone with a book on grants or risk funding. I think it's just something we generally just talk about and they seek on their own. But to have like a book to know that this is a no, so let me not go this route because possibly it won't work out for me as well. So it's a great idea.
Yeah. I wish I had that in the beginning because I was like, what? Yeah. But I'm also working on a planner too, so where people can kind of get the acronyms. I know some people don't know what the acronyms are. They can write down the dates that the grant is out and when the deadline is. If it's a rolling grant, so I'm just kind of working on all of that stuff to help with that process. It's a very tedious process.
Oh, that's
so
amazing.
Exciting. Yeah.
You're gonna have to get a calendar now after this episode.
Yeah,
so people can
definitely
get a book with you and figure out like all the answers to their questions about, because that's definitely a top question I receive. And I have to say, like, I'm not the expert on financing. Like, if you don't have any money to start this business, like, here's a video you can watch I did with somebody that does lending for daycare. But other than that, like, I can't answer those questions. So it's great that you have a resource that's filling that need for people. So where would you like people to find you or to start if they have watched this episode or listened to this episode and immediately want to connect with you? Is it just Instagram for now?
Just Instagram for now. While I'm just building out everything else, I want it to be easy for them to get what they need. So I'm making sure that those other things are easily accessed for them. So let's just say Instagram at Krystal Kernall.
Okay. And are you comfortable sharing your email address? Do you have an email address people could reach you if they don't have Instagram?
Yes, they can reach me at krystalkernall16@gmail.com.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Well, is there anything else you want to share, Krystal?
Thank y'all for having me. This was fun. Yes, I thought I would be more nervous than I am, but thank you. This was so comfortable. It was easy.
Oh, good.
Glad you were comfortable.
Well, I hope we can have you back in a couple months.
Yes.
It would be great to reconnect.
Thank you.
And I thank you for being our first childcare provider guest.
Yes.
This was definitely exciting and fun. So definitely follow Krystal on Instagram. You can follow Gigi on Instagram.
Gigi.solutions.
At Gigi.solutions. You can follow me at Dani Christine Consulting, and links to special things will be in the description below or the show notes of the podcast episode. If you are interested in seeing the video replay of this, because maybe you're listening audio only, you can go to youtube.com/Dani Christine, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.
Thank you.
I'm
glad you had fun. We didn't know if it was going to be fun enough.